Good morning, Rabotai. We had a little bit of a break, resuming now in Siman Shin Mem. The Shulchan Aruch is introducing us to the milacha of kotev and mochek on Shabbat, writing and erasing on Shabbat. And this is something that although in the Shulchan Aruch itself there is very little, but in the Poskim there is a lot. And the Shulchan Aruch starts by telling us that when you erase on Shabbat and you leave room to write 2 letters, you are hayav, and we're going to get back to that in a few days. But first, then the Shulchan Aruch goes on and says that when you write, you have to make sure not to write even in liquid, because even though it's going to disappear right away, nevertheless it's still asur de rabbanan. And the reason why it's only asur de rabbanan is that anything that doesn't last a long time is not considered melechet kotev, writing. Nowadays, it's becoming more and more common that the writing is not done with a pen and on paper. Rather, it's done digitally. And there are many times there are cameras. And the question is, I want to discuss today, I want to introduce to you a question. When somebody enters the space of a camera and a camera is filming him, is there a prohibition on Shabbat? This is something that's extremely common, because it happens almost all the time, inevitably, nowadays that there are cameras installed all over. So Rabbi Yosef Misas, in Maim Chaim, Chelek Aleph, Siman Kuf Mem He, was introduced to the question of the photograph, which is the camera and the picture. And he was asked, if you take a picture on Shabbat, not if you're taking a picture of, if you take a picture on Shabbat, is that considered writing on Shabbat? And he introduces a concept that maybe it would be, you would think that you're patur, that you're exempt, because as it's written that if you write with your left hand, you're patur. Nevertheless, it's asur de rabbanan, but it's exempt on the Torah level because it's not the normal way you write. So if you take a camera and you're not doing it with your right hand, you're doing it with both hands or with your left hand, that wouldn't be considered kotev. So he rejects that and he says, although writing makes a difference if it's the right and the left, but understandably, when you take a picture, since that's the derech, it's like you're being roshem, it's like you are marking things. And when you're marking something, the Rambam says you're chayav. And so too, when you're taking a picture, it's like you're marking something. It doesn't make a difference, the right or the left. And therefore he says if it's going to be done on a paper, you're taking a picture, and like those Polaroids that's going to come out, whatever he had in those times, it's going to be forbidden. But he does say that if it's something that is going to be done on a piece of glass that's not going to last a long time, it's going to be allowed. And then he continues and he says, he's extremely machmir in this. And he says that even if you have your picture taken by a non-Jew, he says, this is surprising, I don't think most hold this way, but this is one of his chumrot. Rabbi Yosef Misas was known for a lot of his leniencies, but people don't know that he had a lot of chumrot as well. He as we know, he forbade riding bicycles and swimming, a lot of other stuff. And over here he says, Rabbi Yosef Misas, that you're not allowed to have your picture taken by a non-Jew. And although a non-Jew doing a melacha on Shabbat is not a Torah prohibition, it's rabbinic. He says, but since you're entering the space and you're helping him do it, so he likens it to when you get a haircut from a non-Jew and you from another Jew, and you're helping him shave your peot with a razor. So it's called makif v'nikav. It's called helping. So over here too, you're helping. So helping is also prohibition. Many don't understand this. It's not called helping. You're just standing there. You're not doing anything. But that's his position. Either way, how would we translate this to digital cameras nowadays? So if you would walk into a digital camera, there are poskim brought down in the Sefer Orchot Shabbat Chelek Aleph Perek Tedvav He'ara Nunhet Nunhe, that brings in the name of Rav Elyashiv, that when you walk into a camera, you are essentially making a picture in the camera. You are creating that picture. And they understood that to be a prohibition. So Rabbi Yosef says it's like you're helping, but over here he says more that it's like you're actually creating the picture. And this was a very big debate when cameras came out and they started filming the old city, whether you were allowed to walk in the old city or not. So some held it's deoraita. Some, like Reb Shlomo Zalman Auerbach in Sefer Nishmat Avraham, the medical book written by Professor Abraham, Sifkatan Shiman Shin Mem, Sifkatan Aleph, writes this in other places also. He understood that that it's only derabanan. It's not really writing on a screen. The screen is just a bunch of every 60 times per second. It's just like light that is not really substantial to be considered called kotev. Furthermore, there are others that point out, brought in the Sefer Orchot Shabbat, that since eventually it's going to get erased, so that's not called mitkayem. So the counter argument that some poskim say is that you need something in order to erase it. It's not good. It wouldn't be erased on its own. If you would freeze the screen and leave it there forever, it would be there forever. So it's a debate. It's a very big debate whether it's deoraita or derabanan walking into a camera. But it's definitely something that should be avoided if a person has intention of being filmed. However, the poskim say if he doesn't have any intention at all and he doesn't care about it, we could rely on the fact that since it's derabanan and he doesn't care, it's called davar shenu mitkaven on a psik resha derabanan, that he doesn't care, and other few heterim that I'm not going to go into. And the poskim, including Rav Ovadia Yosef, has a teshuvah about this, are lenient about if you really don't care and you're just passing by a camera that's filming you. Chazak u'baruch.